Good evening, namaskar friends. I am Kudpi Raj, Kudpi Raj. I am back with one more episode of Kaapi with Kudpi. Our endeavor is to invite guests from different walks of life, especially those unusual people, those achievers who are successful in their own way and who have chosen a different path than normal human beings. Back in 2020, I got a call from my nephew, my sister's son, Suhas Islu, that a visitor from Canada, a friend of his, who's a travel blogger, he is visiting Mangalore along with him, and he would like to meet me because he was fascinated by hearing about my activities, and he wanted to meet me and talk to me for a while and get to know me. So he brought him along with, and he came along with him, and they brought along with them that friend's another friend. So the one I'm talking about, he is from Canada. He is a globetrotter. He is a travel blogger, and he is mostly attracted to our country, India, especially South India, and he's chosen to stay in India for nearly 4 decades, and most of his time he has spent in Chennai, and he has made Chennai his second home. Except during the COVID pandemic, he has visited India every year and spent at least 4 to 6 months here. That is during the dark winter months. I am really fascinated by him. He is Mr. Philipe from Canada, who has also assumed the name of Jaya Prakash. That's an unusual thing, because someone from Canada being called as Jaya Prakash by the locals. There is a story behind it. He will talk about that later. We call Mr. Philipe as JP because that's easier to pronounce and easy to call him, and that sounds very cordial. Welcome to the show, Mr. Philipe. I've heard that you speak many languages, or rather you can understand some of the Indian languages also. Apart from English, which other languages can you speak or understand?
Well, from outside India, French and Spanish, in addition to English, are family languages from me, and I've spoken them since my childhood.
Okay.
When I came to India, I had a little bit of an introduction to Hindi, but not very much, enough to be familiar with the alphabet.
Okay.
Then when I settled in Tamil Nadu, I started to learn a little bit of Tamil. எனக்கு தமிழ் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம் தெரியும்.
ಕನ್ನಡಂ தெரியுமா? ಕನ್ನಡ ಗೊತ್ತಾ?
ಕನ್ನಡ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ.
ಹಿಂದಿ tora.
ಸರಿ, then I should say ವಣಕಂ, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ,
ವಣಕಂ,
ನಮಸ್ತೆ,
ವಂದನೆಗಳು,
and also in Konkani, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರು. ತುಮಕಾ ಆಮ್ಗೆ ಶೋಕ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಸರ್, ವಿಚ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. आपको हमारा शो में स्वागत है. I can't express in Tamil, though I can understand a little bit of Tamil. I can't converse in Tamil, so excuse me. Anyway, proceeding with the show, Kaapi with Kudpi, Mr. JP, Kaapi with Kudpi is a simple show where we invite guests from different walks of life with varied interests and some achievers also. And Kaapi here in Mangalore Kaapi is coffee anyway. We call it Kaapi. Even in Madras, Chennai, they call it Kaapi, I think. They don't say coffee.
Either one is understood.
Yeah,
Kaapi or
even
coffee.
in Bangalore also. In modern times, they are calling it coffee, but otherwise it is Kaapi. So regionally, we are fond of calling it Kaapi, and we offer homemade snacks, simple ones. I prepare the snacks mostly. Sometimes my wife prepares for the show. Otherwise, she is a good cook. She prepares for home and all that. So I want to show off that I can also cook. So a little bit of sweet. This sweet dish. This is actually here we call it Karkala cake. Karkala is a place in Kudpi district, nearby. From Mangalore, it is about 50 kilometers. And Karkala cake is nothing but Ateka halwa or Kada Prasad in Amritsar Golden Temple. They offer this as prasad or offering. That is called Kada Prasad. But something special about this. This is not a plain one. Plain one is made with wheat flour. It's a sort of pudding. They make it with wheat flour. But I have added date paste and sapodilla paste. Sapodilla has grown chiku, we call it chiku here in local language. That is sapodilla. It grows in our garden. So I removed the pulp and made a puree, condensed it and added to it. And instead of sweetener like sugar or jaggery, I put date paste. So this is totally sugar or jaggery free. No artificial stuff in this. Everything is natural. Artificial may be the wheat flour, which is again a processed food, a cereal. So you can say it is half poison for you. It is not full poison, okay? So I'll serve you a little bit of this. If you like it, you can go for more. I made balls of it so that it's easier to dispense. And in between you may get a crunch of almond, Blind almonds are put in that. And as for the savory snack, we usually in Karnataka we say SKC. SKC is sweet, kara and Kaapi. Sweet, this is kara. Kara is a savory dish, and Kaapi will follow soon. So this savory dish, this is Mangalore special. We call it Mangalore buns. This is fried bread fermented with soda bicarb. There is no yeast in this. There is no egg in this. Okay. So it is a sort of donut in a different way. Have you tasted chole bhatura?
I haven't seen this particular.
Okay, have you tasted chole bhatura?
I don't know.
No,
I don't recall the
in
name.
North India, in Delhi and Punjab and all, chole bhatura is famous. So this is somewhat like bhatura.
Okay.
Slightly different. So taste one. If you like it, you can go for more. Okay.
Do you normally eat this with a spoon or break it off and eat
No,
portions with your hand?
I kept the spoon for the pudding. Otherwise, you can break and eat or directly chew.
Okay,
Okay.
very good.
So let's start eating. As we go on eating, we can chat. We can continue our discussion. And finally, you should tell me how it tastes. Okay. So this is the bun. We add bananas to that. Mashed bananas.
Very nice, not too sweet, but very tasty.
So when did you arrive in India this time, or were you here all the time?
No, I came in September this year
Okay.
for a 6-month stay.
Oh.
But due to the new visa regulations, the maximum stay on any one visit is 90 days.
Oh.
So 90 days from my arrival, I need to exit the country and come right back in again.
Okay.
I don't know what that is supposed to accomplish. Certainly doesn't benefit the Indian economy as much as if I spent the plane fare here in India, but that's the rules and I have to abide by them. So I'll fly from Chennai to Colombo, and then the plane will turn around come back, and so will I, on the same plane, just a few hours later.
Oh, few hours later. Is it allowed that way?
The Indian government requires that I get an exit stamp and leave the country. And as soon as I've gotten an exit stamp and leave the country, I can come right back in again. So 3-4 hours away, that's fine. As long as you leave, then you're free to come back.
So talking about your travel blogging, since how many years have been in this, and what made you get into this?
Well, I have been a traveler since my youth. And when I was in university, I traveled to Europe for the first time. Just a 5-week visit then. But the year that I graduated from university, I decided to make a longer trip, so I went to Europe for 11 months. And one of my jobs during a varied working career was working with a global nonprofit organization called the Hunger Project. And after a stint in the Canadian office, I was seconded to the headquarters in the United States and joined their global operations team. And that gave me the opportunity to travel supporting Hunger Project offices around the world in setting up their administrative
Has it
infrastructure.
got something to do with UNICEF? No.
No connection.
So all the underdeveloped nations, they go and help the people overcome malnutrition and things.
Well, the Hunger Project is an educational organization. It's not a direct, getting food shipments together and feeding people that way. There's already lots of organizations doing that.
Okay, so this is
The Hunger Project takes a different approach. The Hunger Project's purpose is to empower local people to find their own solutions. So the Hunger Project focuses on education at a local level, setting up offices and supporting the people to make their own progress. Rather than just handing out charity, they prefer to
making them self-sufficient.
Making people learn how to be self-sufficient. And I was always on the administrative side of the Hunger Project operation. I wasn't in their program part. So I would help the local offices in the countries that I visited set up their computer systems and make sure that their finances were on a sound setting and that they could be audited as required to produce proper financial statements and to ensure that the organization side of the organization was functioning solidly. So that was my responsibility. And I've worked in Hunger Project offices in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, San Francisco, New York, London, England, Utrecht, Netherlands, Stockholm, Sweden, Geneva, Switzerland, Mumbai, India, and Sydney, Australia. At one point in my career with the Hunger Project, I had worked in more different Hunger Project offices than the CEO of the company had. I had visited more than she had. She caught up with me later, but for a while I had the distinction.
I think there's a mention in your blog about the Hunger Project.
Yes.
Someone talking about you, some opinion, someone's opinion. In your intro, I think I read it.
I think I know the quotation you mean. The director of the Hunger Project at that time was Joan Holmes.
Yeah.
And in a board meeting, she said to me, JP, you have a unique ability to position yourself accurately on the planet.
That's great. And that fits you, that description fits you actually.
Very
That's what
much so.
happened.
Very
the
much so.
very first time when I met you 4 years or so ago, the first impression I had was, this guy is not a this guy is not a traveler. You gave an impression as if you are born and brought up in India and living here. So that homely nature was there in you. You are amicable and very mellow. That you didn't have the imperial touch to your looks actually. That's what impressed me. You looked very much like a common man, a common Indian. And you know, the first thing you did was not shake hands. Of course, that was, I think, Namaste you said, I think.
Namaskaram.
Ah,
Well, I'm Canadian by birth, but Indian by adoption.
oh, really? So that's why you have more affinity towards India. You love India because of that. So tell me something about your family. In brief, whatever you feel like.
Okay, well, I was born and brought up in Canada, Toronto, Hamilton, Montreal. I moved to Vancouver in my mid-20s, and that was my base in Canada for a good many years. That's where I first joined the Hunger Project. I came to India in 1985 for my first visit. I was on a business trip on behalf of the Hunger Project. And my first impression of India was a bit overwhelming, but I felt at home. I felt I belonged here. I think I must have been Indian in a previous lifetime because this is where I belong. This is home. And I had that feeling right from the very beginning. And the more time I spend in India, the more I realize that this is my spiritual home. And I may travel to other countries, I may live in other countries, but India is truly home for me. This cake is delicious.
That's good, that's good. Oh, you liked it? Like to have some more?
I think I will have another piece.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't feel guilty because, as I told you, no artificial sweetener in that. Nowadays we are very careful because we don't know who is on a diet, who eats what, who avoids sugar. We don't ask people. It's embarrassing to ask sometimes. You want sugarless or with sugar? And so I make alternative things. Anyone can enjoy it. And I myself am 65 and I'm very careful about my diet now. What about you?
A few years older,
Few years. Okay.
but I won't say exactly how.
No, can't make out. I thought you may be almost my age. I thought maybe 1 or 2 years older. Okay.
I will have to call you Tambi, younger brother.
That's good. That's good. So you watch some Tamil movies? Have you watched Tamil movies?
I'm not a great fan of Tamil movies because my Tamil is not good enough to follow the dialogue. But one of my favorite movies of all time was an Indian movie, but it was a silent film, deliberately without a soundtrack, just musical soundtrack, but no speaking by the actors. So of course it had universal appeal. And I don't remember any details except that I enjoyed it enormously.
Maybe Pushpak or Pushpak Viman or something.
I really don't recall. It was many, many years ago. It was shortly after I first came to India.
Maybe in the 80s, maybe in the mid 80s or late 80s.
It was around that time, yes.
Yeah. That was a great movie actually. It was a silent movie, as you said. And they shot it in Bangalore. The entire movie was shot in Bangalore. In Windsor Manor, we used to call it then. Hotel Windsor Manor. Now they call it ITC Windsor in Sankey Road, Bangalore. It was shot there mostly. So about travel blogging.
Well, I started travel blogging when I bought a motorcycle. I had small bikes back in Canada, but then for many years I didn't. But in India, I had the opportunity, first of all, to borrow a friend's motorcycle, and I enjoyed the traveling. So I bought myself a Bajaj 135 in, let me see, it would have been about 2007. And I went as far as from Goa to down through Tamil Nadu and up through Kerala and up as far as Goa and back across the country. And that's when I started blogging about my travels. Well, after a couple of years of doing that, I said, hey, I really like this bike touring. That if I'm going to be a serious bike tourer, a 135cc bike is a little bit small. So I did a lot of research. And finally, in 2009, I bought myself a nice red Royal Enfield Thunderbird.
Okay.
Beautiful bike.
No,
you
Royal
feel like the
Enfield.
king of the road on that
I have
bike.
observed that
Solid, reliable, very good bike.
most of the Westerners, when they visit India, they go around in Royal Enfield. They prefer that. It's a very sturdy bike, and for Indian roads, it's the best bike available now. Anyway, about power and other things, there are new generation bikes in the market. So you might have tried many other bikes also.
I've tried a few others, but the Thunderbird is my favorite Indian motorcycle.
Okay. We'll have coffee and continue. So my wife has brought a hot filter coffee. That's homemade. We always drink filter coffee. We don't drink instant coffee. Please
I
try
much
it.
prefer filter coffee,
Yeah.
but it's difficult to find in many places.
Yeah, please try it. It may be a little strong for you. And like other things, we put little less sugar even in coffee. One more?
I think I will. Yes, thank you.
So which all countries have you visited over the years, over the decades?
In North America, Canada, United States, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama. In South America, only Colombia, and that doesn't really count because I was just there for one day.
Oh,
In Europe, England, Wales, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Germany, which I count as two because at the time I was there was West Germany and East Germany, Australia, Liechtenstein. Sorry, I said Australia, I think, but I meant Austria,
Austria.
Switzerland, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Andorra, right between Spain and Portugal. In Africa, only Morocco. In Asia, India, China, Hong Kong, Macau, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and Australia.
What about Nepal? You're
Have not made it up to Nepal.
Not interested, or there was no
Opportunity has not
Okay.
presented itself. Usually I am in India during the winter months, as you mentioned. And that's when it's coldest in Nepal. So
That's
I
right.
don't like cold weather,
That's
which
right.
is why I avoid Canadian winters.
You're right. Absolutely. You're not just a wanderer. I saw your blog and I understood that. You also take tourists along with, or rather used to take. I don't know whether you have continued that. A
Well,
group of-
it was disrupted because of COVID. And, well, first of all, I was very familiar with the itinerary because I have traveled extensively in India by car, by bus, by train, by motorcycle. So I know the country fairly well. I know a lot of the things to see and some of the things to avoid. And I've had extensive experience on my own travels of booking train tickets and booking hotels, so it's not really much of an extension to be able to bring a couple of friends along.
Talking about your tours that you conduct,
Okay.
how do you go about it?
Well, I have put together what I call the Great India Yatri, which is 3 months from mid-November to mid-February. And people can come for as little as 15 days or as much as 3 months.
Oh,
So the first part of the yatra is northern India.
so 3 months is the visa period.
3 months is the visa period,
Okay.
and that's the period of the tour. So you can just do it on a tourist visa. So the tour begins mid-November in Delhi. So the participants are on their own to get to Delhi airport. They make their own travel arrangements. I don't do any of the international flights. I'm responsible from the time they arrive at the airport in India to the time they're ready to go to the departure gate at the end. But they're responsible for their visas, insurance, and international flight connections. So we meet in Delhi in the middle of November. We spend a few days in Delhi. We have the option, depending on interest of the participants, of taking the train, including the toy train, up to Srinagar.
Darjeeling?
Not Darjeeling, but sorry, Shimla.
Shimla.
My mistake, Shimla. And then back to Delhi. We then proceed to the Taj Mahal, stay a couple of days there, see it by sunset and at dawn.
Would you like to have this? Or no?
That's enough for now, thank you.
What about coffee?
Another cup of coffee would be great, thank you. Then we, when we leave from Agra, we visit Fatehpur Sikri on our way to Jaipur. We spend 3 days in Jaipur looking around there. And then our itinerary is a little bit flexible depending on people's timing. Normally, we go to Jodhpur, see the famous fort. Option to go to Jaisalmer if you want to go out in the desert, and you can do a camel tour overnight in the sand dunes if you want, and return to Udaipur. And at that point, that's about 2 weeks total. And if people want to, they can leave the tour at that point. We will arrange their ground transportation back to Delhi, and they can fly back on their own. But the tour continues. We take an overnight train from Udaipur down to Mumbai. And again, people have the option, if they want to leave after the stay in Mumbai, they can do so. Otherwise, we continue down to Goa about mid-December. Again, people can fly back to Goa, or if they want, there is a 3-week hiatus in the tour from the middle of December to the first week of January. So the people that have come as far as Goa, if they want, they can stay in Goa for the Christmas period, and we will help them find suitable accommodation, but there's no other tour services provided. They're on their own for those 3 weeks. Then the second part of the tour, the South India tour, starts at the very beginning of January. So the people that are in Goa have the option of flying to Chennai and joining the tour, Or if they want to just start with the southern tour only, they can fly into Chennai from North America, and the southern part of the tour starts at Chennai Airport. We first go to Mamallapuram, which is about 50 kilometers south, spend a few days there. We continue on to Pondi, Trichy, and we're in Trichy in the middle of January for the Pongal Festival, which is the biggest event on the Tamil calendar, mid-January. And Trichy is our base of operations, and we go around to nearby villages and see the local typical features there. We make a brief stop in Tanjavur to see the temple. We go to Madurai for an overnight stop, an overnight stop in Kanyakumari. Those are the only two places where we have just an overnight stop rather than a longer visit. And then we proceed to Kerala. We briefly visit Kovalam Beach in Trivandrum, but we stay in Varkala. After a few days in Varkala, we leave Varkala, we go up to Kollam, we take the daily backwater boat trip up to Alapi. Then there's the option of taking an overnight houseboat trip based out of Alapi. We proceed up to Kochi and stay a few days there. And then we have a long overnight train. We go all the way from Ernakulam, Kochi, all the way up to Goa. We stay a few days in Goa. And again, that's another one of the places where people have the option to terminate the tour and fly back from Goa. Or they could also have flown back from Trivandrum, depends on their schedule. We're very, very flexible. If a person has only 18 days, we say, well, you can get to this point in the itinerary, and then you want to go to this city to get the airport, and you get your international flight. Okay, so we're in Goa. From Goa, we take the train to Hospit, and visit Hampi for a few days. From Hampi, we go to Mysore, spend a few days in Mysore. We take our van up to Ooty. After a few days in Ooty, we take the toy train down to Coimbatore, Metropolitan, and then the overnight train to Chennai. And again, people could leave from Mysore if they needed to. They could easily get transportation to Bangalore, so they can leave the tour at any point. But if they're going to do the full tour, then we end up in Chennai about the middle of February. So mid-November to mid-February, 3 months.
A small interruption.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, you talked about the North India tour, ending in Goa. Couldn't you continue with that and come to Ooty and then proceed to Chennai and continue with the South India tour? Anyway, you have been operating like this, but just curious, that's all.
If the people on the tour wanted to customize the itinerary, then if there was a group of people that wanted a custom itinerary, we would put together a custom itinerary for them. But I have sort of proposed this 3-month tour as an outline. And you can change this, cut out this, and add this.
There are different groups coming.
Well,
so one group joins you in Delhi and comes down to Goa.
That's right.
Other joins you in Chennai.
Yes.
And comes down south, Kerala, again back to Goa, Hospit, and continue
and back to Chennai. It's a big circle tour from Chennai around and back to Chennai. So the people that come for the northern tour have the option at the end of the tour of staying the 3 weeks from mid-December to the first week of January in Goa, and then come to Chennai and join the southern tour. So you can do both of them back to back. You can do just the northern tour. You can use just the southern tour. You can only join the tour in either Delhi or in Chennai.
There's a mosquito. Oh, it's already
got me. It already got me. Oh dear. You can join the tour in Delhi, or you can join the tour in Chennai. But you can leave at pretty well any intermediate point as long as it's a minimum of 15 days on the tour. So we make it as flexible, but also as comprehensive as possible. And as I say, I have created an outline. But depending on the interests of the traveler, we may cut out a little bit here and add a little bit here. Depends on the people that are doing the tour.
And the bookings, the hotel bookings, travel, or other things, maybe cultural shows and things. Do you manage by yourself or your agents?
Well, I do all the bookings. I have connections with many travel businesses in India for excursions and so on. I'm familiar and have stayed at all the
you
hotels.
Get concessions, group concessions you get?
Depends on the size of the group. But usually there, if there's at least 6 people, we would often get a concession.
Okay.
But I charge a flat fee for the tour from airport to airport.
Okay.
So I look after all the ground expenses, all the local traveling, the hotels, the meals, depending on the basic meal plan or the enhanced meal plan. You get some of the meals or all of the meals. And I look after all the expenses, all the admission fees. There are a few exceptions where there are particularly expensive items that people may choose not to participate in. For example, at Hampi, there are lots and lots of free things to see, but there are some where you need a separate ticket, which is relatively expensive for foreigners, maybe 500 to 1,000 rupees.
Okay.
Or
the light and sound show and all those things.
In Mysore, for example, there's the large bird sanctuary just north of the city.
Rangantittu.
Yes, and people have the option. Some people are not interested in that, so no point in including the entrance in their fare if they don't want to see that.
So those are optional.
The things that are itemized as being own cost options are really clearly stated. If you want to go to this, you have to pay for that. Otherwise, it's an all-inclusive tour.
So as per what you said, I think your tours are mostly city-bound and maybe a little bit of nature with it.
I call the tours beaches and heritage. So there's definitely lots of beach time because people coming from a cold climate like Canada are definitely want to go swimming in the ocean. And heritage, we take care to see several historical monuments that are very well known, such as the Taj Mahal and the Rajasthan palaces and so on. And but it's very much a customizable tour. So I provide an outline, but they can vary it.
So there is no adventure tourism.
I have not had demand for adventure tourism, so I haven't been doing that. It's not something that I myself personally do, so it's not something that I really qualified to be able to escort people on. If they want to do that, then some of my travel partners would be able to take care of those particular requirements, and they can specify before the tour, well, I want to have 1 week so I can go climb Mount Everest or something like that, whatever. We try to accommodate reasonable requests.
But you, by yourself, have you gone on trekking and adventure?
Not in any substantial or in particularly vigorous,
In India? You said you didn't visit Nepal.
I have not visited Nepal yet, no.
In India, anywhere in the Himalayas, have you been?
Well, I have been up to Rishikesh and to Darjeeling.
Okay.
Those are really the only places in the mountains that I've been to.
And down south, I think frequently you must be going to Kodai and Kodaikanal and
well, we include Uti and Kunur on the southern trip.
Okay, no Kodaikanal.
It doesn't fit the southern itinerary. But again, if someone wanted to include that, we would do our best to accommodate them.
But by yourself, do you visit those places? You keep traveling from time to time?
Now, my interest in finding new places is somewhat diminished. I have seen most of the places in India that I wanted to see. And so when I travel on my own account now, I tend rather to go to places where I already know people and visit with my friends. That for me is more interesting than the architecture and the mountains. I'm now much more focused on personal visits when I'm traveling on my own. But if I'm traveling with a newcomer, I will oblige whatever tastes they want to indulge to the best of my ability.
So in Chennai, who all lives with you? You are alone or?
No, I have adopted Indian family in both Chennai and
You shared a photo in that one family.
The photo that I shared was my daughter-in-law and their 4 children.
Okay.
So quite some years back, about 30 years back, I met and adopted a college student during one of my tours in India. And he and I adopted each other as father and son, strictly on a because we said so basis. It did not involve any government agencies, there's no formal documentation, but we declare to the world that we are adoptive father and adopted son.
Okay.
And he in turn married his childhood sweetheart, and they're raising a family, and we have built a family home together in their native village. And that is my home and my home base in India.
That's
so
great.
you saw a photo of my daughter-in-law and 4 of my 8 grandchildren.
Yeah.
Now, I have 3 adopted adult children. The first one is Padmanabhan, and that's his family that you saw the photo. The second person I adopted was Padu's younger brother. So Satish and his family are also part of my extended adopted family. And Satish and his wife Karunya have 2 children, 1 boy and 1 girl. And then a few years ago when I was in Gokarna, I made the acquaintance of a young man who introduced me to his mother, who was having some problems with her husband. And I helped her resolve the situation so that her husband is now a contributing part of the family rather than something less than that. She has 2 sons. So I adopted her as my daughter and her 2 sons. So I have 3 adopted adult children and a total of 8 grandchildren, 4 boys and 4 girls. Very symmetrical.
Quite a big family it is now.
Very symmetrical. But my home is in Chennai with my adopted family. Now, interestingly enough, they had a small house in that village. It had been their native village for a couple of generations. We built the house together in 1999. And I intended it to be my Y2K, that is the year 2000 retreat, because you'll remember back in 1999 there was this big what's going to happen when the calendar rolls over and all the computer systems stop.
I know.
So we built the house for my contribution was as my Y2K retreat. And as it turned out, it didn't turn out to be as much of an uproar or disaster as it expected, but still I had this nice house and we continued to expand the house. Well,
is it in the city?
It's outside the city. It's about an hour north of Chennai.
North of Chennai.
Yeah, near a small city called Minjur. Well,
But
as
north of Chennai is almost Andhra border, right?
it's towards the border with Andhra Pradesh, but not super close. It's about halfway from Chennai to the Andhra border. So I didn't need it as a Y2K retreat, but in March of 2020, you all will remember what happened in March of 2020 when the lockdown started. I had been in central Karnataka and I had a overnight ticket booked from Mysore to Chennai on the Tuesday morning, and something just sort of nudged me saying go a couple of days earlier. So I canceled and rebooked the ticket and paid the rebooking fees and the cancellation fees and rebooked the ticket for Saturday night leaving Mysore.
You were alone?
I was traveling alone at that time. I was traveling alone. So I got to Mysore, got the overnight train, got into Chennai on Sunday morning. That was the day of the 1-day test lockdown. Well, as it turned out, they said, okay, now we're going to lock down everything, and they locked down the whole country. But I just made it back to my village and my home before the lockdown came into effect. If I had not preponed my ticket by 2 days, I would have been stuck in the middle of Karnataka with no resources for the time of the lockdown. As it was, I made it home, and for the next 5 months until August 2020, I was in lockdown in my family compound, did not go outside the compound gate for 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
Now, my family was able to, but because I was a foreigner and in a rather unusual situation, they said, best you just stay in your compound. So I did that. But I was at home with my family. Now, my friend Cher that you met when we came here to visit, we had been traveling together for some time, but our paths had diverged a little bit. I went to Karnataka, she went to Pandi and Oroville. And we were in close communication as we could see the problems developing. She managed to book a flight on, I think it was about March the 18th. She got the last flight out from Chennai. And the flight took off and they shut the airport down for the next several months.
Oh, wow.
So she made it out in time. But when we'd been chatting beforehand, she said, can you possibly come and make this flight? And I said, no. If I can't leave, I'm not stuck in India. I'm in India with my family, which is exactly where I wanted to be. So the retreat that I built for Y2K turned out to be my COVID 2020 lockdown retreat.
Asylum.
My asylum, my oasis.
Great.
And I couldn't come back to India in 2021 because of the travel restrictions. And when I was planning this year's tour, I thought, you know, I really don't want to take the chance of bringing a group here without knowing what the situation is on the ground. So I came on this trip solo, came to Chennai, stayed with my family for a while, and I've been doing some traveling around, just assessing, will it be practical to do the tour next year? Yes or no? Who knows? We'll see what the situation is a year from now.
Yeah.
But I felt it would have been premature to bring visitors with me, not knowing what the on-the-ground situation was here.
So whether you conduct tours or not, you are always active. You are on the move.
I'm on the move. Whether I'm shepherding someone else or whether I'm traveling for my own pleasure, I love traveling in India.
That's good. That keeps you young always, young at heart. No, you have not changed much since I saw you 4 years ago.
You look 4 years older.
Anyway, now coming to the part where you said your name is also Jaya Prakash.
Yes.
So a little bit of connection there, Chennai connection I can see, but how did you get that name actually? Did you call yourself Jaya Prakash or people called you?
The way it happened was, first of all, in Canada is a bilingual country, English and French. My birth name on my passport and birth certificate is John Philipe, but as a expression of my bicultural Canadian heritage, in Canada I use the French version of my name, namely Jean-Philippe. But most people in India have a great deal of difficulty pronouncing French because they're not familiar with it. So Jean-Philippe is beyond them. They can't hear it. So I also, for many years, went by JP. JP for John Philip or for Jean-Philippe. And one time when I was in India, I introduced myself as JP to someone, and the person says, "Oh, does that stand for Jaya Prakash?" And I said, "Yes, that's my Indian name." So Jaya Prakash it is. And my business cards are in English, Tangeri, Hindi, and Malayalam, and Kannada, and Tamil. My name, not all the details, but my name, Jaya Prakash, in all those 4 Indian languages.
Okay. That's great. So you approved it. You approved the name Jaya Prakash.
I chose the name Jaya Prakash as an expression of my adopted Indianness.
Yeah, it suits you anyway, and great to be associated with a great man from Indian politics, Jaya Prakash Narayan. Yeah.
Jaya Prakash Narayan was the only Indian politician that had the gumption and the courage to stand up to Indira Gandhi during the emergency tyranny.
That's the thing.
A very noble name.
We as youngsters, we as college students were inspired then, and we actively participated in changing the government. We wanted a change. So we worked hard to bring the Janata Party. But anyway, you know Indian politics, how people jump from party to party and how they spoil the thing. Anyway, let's forget politics. It's not our cup of tea anyway, any of the time. Both of us have something in common, that is travel, meeting people and studying culture, local cultures. And maybe you have tasted most of the Indian foods in these years. Different kinds of cuisine from different parts of India. You must have definitely tasted. But which is the best one? North Indian, South Indian, Bengali, Maharashtrian, Karnataka, which one you like?
That is like pointing to your garden and saying, what is the best flower in your garden? The variety is what makes it
difficult
interesting.
Answer.
Wherever I go, I sample the local cuisine. Sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's awful.
But what do you eat normally at home in Chennai?
Well, breakfast would typically be either vada or idli or
South
puri.
Indian breakfast.
Yeah, South Indian breakfast. In Chennai, that's what I would eat, South Indian food. For main dishes, I very much like chicken biryani or a variety of chicken preparations. Chana masala.
Mostly
Gobi
homemade.
Manchurian.
Homemade or you eat out?
If I am staying at my home, then my daughter-in-law prepares my meals. If I'm traveling, I carry a sort of a miniature kitchen with a heating coil and a mug so that I can make hot water for tea and coffee, and a knife and fork, and maybe I'll make crackers and cheese as a snack and have some peanuts. But normally I would eat my meals out, at least one meal a day, eating out.
So apart from traveling, what are the other passions you have? What are the hobbies? Music?
I was, for a good many years, a choral musician. I sang in the festival choir in public school and in high school, and I have sung with several choirs in Canada. But I haven't been singing in a choir for about a decade or so. My main passion now, that started out as a hobby and has evolved into a retirement business, is cryptocurrency. I first heard about Bitcoin in about 2015, and I thought, well, I should get some, but I found it just so difficult and complicated that I gave up and said, it's not worth it. But a year later, 2016, I came across a couple of videos that explained very clearly, step by step by step by step, exactly how to set up a crypto wallet and to get some cryptocurrency. So I bought my first crypto in 2016. And just about the same time, my mother passed away, and I got
How old was she?
She was 92, 93 at the time. No, lower than that. 2016, she was 96. 96
So
when she
your
died.
father?
Father died at the age of 70. So anyway, I got a small inheritance from my mom, and I put 5,000 into cryptocurrency. And a couple of years later, it was worth $50,000. So I said, cryptocurrency is a good field to be in. So I've been studying cryptocurrency, and I remember how difficult it was when I first set up my own my own cryptocurrency wallet. So my niche market of interest is onboarding new cryptocurrency clients. So I explain to people the broad concepts of cryptocurrency. I show them how to set up a cryptocurrency wallet. I give them a free sample of crypto so they can see how easy it is to send crypto from one person to another. And then if they choose to invest in cryptocurrency, I can facilitate that as well. So I can show people how to do it, and I can arrange for them to be able to buy cryptocurrency.
So that's your main source of income now, or you have other?
I have my pension. That provides a basic level. The cryptocurrency pays for my travel expenses.
That's good. So you are a wise investor anyway, and you live wisely in general. Everything, and like you said, what happened when you preponed your trip, and you could end up in your own home during the first lockdown. So it's all a matter of luck. Luck is always with you.
A luck, perhaps. I prefer to say that my holy guardian angel, Shirdi Sai Baba, looks after me and points where I should go.
Oh,
And I follow,
Shirdi Sai Baba.
Shirdi Sai Baba. And if I think
on the way back you can visit the Shirdi Sai Baba temple.
I saw it as we were driving by on the way here, and I oh yes, there's the Shirdi Sai Baba. So I listen to what the universe tells me. I listen to the whispers from Shirdi Sai Baba, and I govern my life accordingly. And I've lived a charmed life.
That's great. So your life should be an example for a lot of Indians actually. Not Westerners. Westerners, can be easily inspired. They can get easily inspired, but not Indians. Indians are a bit rigid. So what I feel is you are a role model for many of the Indians, especially South Indians, because a Canadian coming to India and settling down in Chennai, adopting families, and being with them, togetherness. It's great. It's something which we cannot imagine. Anyway, that was a great chat we had today, and I'm happy that you liked our snacks and coffee.
It was very tasty indeed.
Except for the couple of mosquitoes that
they add a little
getting
protein.
attracted.
They add a little protein.
They came for the foreign blood, just like we used to go for imported perfumes and chocolates and things. Maybe they came for your imported blood.
Perhaps. Well, if Cher, my friend who came last time, had been here, they would have only been interested in her. Because she's a mosquito magnet, she says.
So
when I travel with her, I don't need mosquito repellent. I just say go over and bite her. And they do.
So that's been a great chat. I had a good time with you, JP. And thanks for coming. Thanks for coming all the way to Mangaluru and participating in this show, accepting your hospitality, whatever you call, if at all you call it hospitality. It was a small gesture. I would have done it better, but this show is like that. In this show, people don't like to hog. They don't want a lavish spread. It is a simple thing, just like how we do at home, sit and chat. So instead of chatting inside the home, we came to the garden and did that here. And you did full justice to your talk and explained so many things which are not known to me. Though Suhas had been telling me about you and time and again. Whenever he have a chance to talk, he always mentions you. I think you are his guru in many things. Anyway, so I should thank him also for bringing you here. And I think Kaapi with Kudpi became bright with the presence of JP. And thank you very much. And namaskar, as you always say, no shake hands. So
namaskaram.
Thank you. Take care. Take care. Hope to see you again in some other show.
Matte sigona.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಸಿಗೋಣ. ಸರಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.